Good morning. And an extra good morning. I love it. Welcome to the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I am the Reverend Terry Schwartz, and I'm honored to serve as your transition minister. My pronouns are she and her. I am joined today by Service Associate Gloria Perlstein, and today's music is provided by our guest pianist Carmen Sanjim, and our song leaders are Debbie Larson and Shelley Barnard. Today's tech team is Larry Sherwood, Mary Stackpole, and Kathy Partridge. Now you've arrived. You can leave the rest of your morning behind you if you wish. Anything that's not serving you this morning outside of those doors. And if you need to pick it up again, it'll be there waiting for you. For this hour, be here. Now look around you, and there are lots of good people around you. And if there's a bad egg in the bunch, it's me. For those of you on Zoom, I invite you to look to gallery mode so you can see everyone gathered on our online community as well. Our lives as humans are a lot easier together. And as I offer our words of welcome, hold these good people in your heart and hold the people who are not yet in those empty chairs in your heart too. And know that they'll be holding you in theirs. You are all welcome here today. And all the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes and sizes, gifts and the challenges too. All that make you you. You are welcome here. In all the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways you make your living and all the places you are from, you are welcome. You are welcome here. With all of the traditions that inform your spiritual life and heritage, you are welcome here today. And no matter how long you are away, you don't get like demerits if you're not here, nor how soon you return. You're welcome here. And whether you come today with a body and soul that needs support, or you come with a body and soul that can offer support, you're welcome here. When we show up on Sundays, we're showing up for one another. I invite you, everyone, to join us together from near and far, places of the heart, places of geography. And together, as we move into our service today, we acknowledge that we've gathered on the land of the Arapaho and many native peoples for millennia before white settlers stole it for their own. And it is good to know where we are, the inheritance and history of the ground we stand on, even if we don't always like it, and the earth that is in us that we are a part of, the terrain of the heart, the wilderness of the spirit. If you're new here, we are so glad you found us. We hope that you can experience the warmth and love of this congregation in person or virtually, or both. Come back a few times to get to know us. Each service is different. So I encourage you, go to a good 6 before you start making any decisions. We hope that you can experience the opportunities during the week that this fellowship offers as well. for social connection and spiritual growth and service. If you're on Zoom, check out the links in the chat to get connected. And after the service, hang out in the Zoom coffee room. And those of you here in person, stop by the welcome table in the foyer to learn more about the fellowship, or you can scan the QR code on the back of your hymnal. After the service, we have some exciting things. So for those of you here in the sanctuary, grab some coffee in the fellowship hall and you can continue to hang out there. And you're going to have an extra bonus today. The landscape planning team will share their plans. Landscape, some of you might be thinking, great, plants and shrubs. Fantastic, I'm going to go to the other thing that I don't know what's happening yet. It's super cool, okay? I don't do landscaping, I'm not a landscape architect, I don't even have a garden. They have worked extensively planning for outdoor living and community space. And I really want to invite everyone in this community to consider this next stage of development is the continued capital expansion of your building. Because you live in Colorado. That means 3 seasons out of the year, outdoor living, learning, community building can happen. And that will hugely expand the physical space, capability, and opportunities of the programming of the fellowship. Landscaping, not just grass anymore. That's all me. Don't blame them if that is not the campaign you want. But lots of function, purpose, and possibility out there. About 15 minutes after the service has finished, you can join me back here in the sanctuary, where you'll learn about the fellowship's work to renew our UUA, that is the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is insider jargon for our denomination's official name, their welcoming congregation process, and that is a certification for being welcoming of queer folks, queer identified folks of all many gender orientations and sexualities. So learn how we continue this work, because getting that certification renewed is not like the end. We check it off and get the merit badge and there's no more work to be done. It's really the beginning. We will also have time to chat about today's service topic as well. If you're feeling torn, the landscaping diagrams, which are gorgeous from the landscape architect, are going to stay up all the time. And our landscape team will be happy to talk with you and you can get involved. It is time, I have greeted you, to greet one another. So Zoom friends, I invite you to say hi in the chat, wave at one another. Those of you in the sanctuary, take a few minutes, get to know each other, especially try to find someone you've never met, even if you've got to move around. Oh, that's okay. It's funny, it didn't happen in sound check. I should read longer portions in the sound check. I'll just put them there, yeah. That was a good little learning to do a longer piece with movement. Fantastic greeting, everybody. This is not the end. That is the prelude appetizer course for the social hour after the service. If you have a chalice at home, you can light it with us as we light our fellowship chalice. And so I invite you to say our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. As I ring this bowl, I invite you to once again settle into this space, and our spirits can only move as fast as our bodies can travel. So sometimes that requires a little catching up.
Our opening words today are from Reverend Shannon Wiley. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you is beautiful just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or to the children or to anyone. You don't have to try to be witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you is beautiful, just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all are beautiful just the way they are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us enter our service together.
The composer of our opening hymn, Holly Near, wrote this song in her car in 1978 when she heard the news of the assassinations of Harvey Milk, the first openly gay elected official in California, and San Francisco Mayor George Moscone. A few years ago, at one of her performances, Holly shared, we originally sang "We Are Gay and Lesbian Together." But then we were surrounded by the support of allies, so I changed it to "We Are Gay and Straight Together." And now we are learning more and more about gender and sexuality, and now it requires many more syllables than I can fit in the song. And so now let us sing "We're All in This Together." So that lyric will be updated for this service, and our song leaders will lead us together in making a joyful noise.
So the words will be projected up here. You could look in the gray hymnal number 170, but this could be your guide. We're just singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 6. Again, it's gray hymnal 170, optional. And please rise in body or spirit as you're able to join us.
We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
In the heritage of our religious tradition, we believe revelation is not sealed and there is no closed canon. So we look everywhere for sources of wisdom and a good word. And sometimes that comes from scriptures of the world's tradition, sometimes contemporary poetry, sometimes writing of our own fellowship members, and sometimes it comes from places like YouTube. And so whether it's from 2,000 years ago or 2 hours ago, from ancient scrolls or pixels on a screen that have gone up to space and back in a series of ones and zeros, which is really amazing when you think about it, storytelling can deepen our sense of meaning, of belonging, of empathy, and of connection to our common humanity and our religious past, inheritance, and future. It's what we do in our services, and it's the mission of a group called Story District. Story District is an organization in Washington, D.C., and they teach storytelling to inspire, connect, and build a community of diverse voices in our nation's capital and beyond. Every year for Pride Month, they host a special storytelling show called Outspoken. For our reflection today, we'll hear highlights from Rebecca Kling's story from Outspoken in 2017.
July 2009. I'm in Chicago, headed downtown on the train for my appointment at the Daily Center to at long last legally change my name from my old male name to a new female name. And honestly, the hearing takes about that long, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, during which the judge directs more sirs at me than seems strictly necessary. But I know to pick my battles. 2 months and $526 after first filing my petition for name change, I am legally and duly recognized Rebecca Roden Kling. So I go down to go across the street to the DMV, and getting a new corrected license is actually pretty easy. $5 and a copy of that certified paperwork. But when I ask about changing the gender marker from an M to an F, I'm told I need a note from a doctor. But it reminded me how much it can hurt to not have documentation that matches who you are, how difficult it can be to move through the world, and something occurs to me. Summer of 2009, I've been getting ma'amed more and more. I've been getting sirred less and less. I've been getting ladiesed when out with friends or using the women's dressing room at stores without a problem. And what if I go to a different DMV and tell a little white lie? It's not just me being stubborn. Okay, well, it's a little bit me being stubborn. But it's also that difficulty of moving through the world, of getting pulled over and fearing a roadside referendum on my gender and just being able to hand the officer my license. It's the difference of having that interaction with a bouncer or just walking into a bar. It's the difference of fearing that the TSA is going to catch me trying to smuggle a penis through airport security and just catching my flight. I head to another DMV. And my number is called, and I go up to a little old lady at the counter, and I say, "Hi, I was just at the DMV downtown, and there was a mistake somehow, and it says M on my license, and that doesn't make any sense." And she looks at me, and she looks at my license, and she looks at me, and she says, "Well, let's get that taken care of." The gods of bureaucracy are smiling on me. And I'm sure that some of that had to do with the privilege of the color of my skin and the way that I speak and being able to connect with that little old lady at the DMV, but in the moment, all I can do is stand there and nod. And she types away, humming and looking at her screen, and I am convinced that she can see right through me, that the screen is displaying my old name, displaying my old photo, displaying all of my lies and subterfuge, but I make it. And she hands me a sheet of paper saying, "Take that to the clerk. It was our mistake, so they won't charge you, but they'll need to sign off on it." And she sends me on my way. And in the moment, I am convinced that I have pulled the wool over this woman's eyes, that I have fooled the DMV, and that I have gotten away with something amazing. But since then, I've reconsidered. What if she knew everything? What if my old name, my old photo, my old license, and my old gender was on that screen for her to see, and she helped me out anyway? It is really easy to come up with a list of people who have not had my back, of bouncers and police officers and judges and people sitting in the Oval Office. But what if there's another list? A list that I don't get to see but still exists, of people who have had my back even when I didn't know it.
Go ahead.
Each week, we remind ourselves of the abundance in our lives and this community by giving half of our plate away to those organizations that share our values. Today, the half plate is for the Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry. The UUAM is a group of concerned UUs and friends who express their faith, in part, through compassion toward all beings. The UU Animal Ministry understands that humans are only a strand in the intricate web of life, and it extends our UU affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person to other species. UUAM chapters across the US and Canada work to promote compassion for animals at the local level. Our nearest chapter is at First Universalist Church of Denver. UUAM activities include educational programs and talks about other species, ecology, and ethical eating, support for local chapters and aspiring chapters, virtual animal blessings, and a monthly online pet loss support group. You can text your donation to the number on the screen or place a donation in the offering plate as it passes. Please give generously as you so often do.
For the work of this fellowship, bringing love, reason, justice, and compassion, and for the work of the UU Animal Ministry, we give these offerings. Thank you.
And now I invite you to join in a short meditation on interconnection, or what Thich Nhat Hanh called interbeing. So please take a moment and settle into your chair, Straighten your back. And if you can, put your feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes if that's comfortable, or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. Take in a few more deep breaths, and with every breath out, let your body soften and relax. Let your face relax, your jaw, your shoulders. Trust that the chair and the floor will support you. And if you find any spots of tension in your body, just try to let them go as you breathe. Now let the air and the energy of the space in this room enter into you. And let your exhalations and your energy enter into this space. You are part of this space, and this space is part of you. In all our genders, all our names, all our pronouns, we are united in the human experience. The forces of life created us all. Our bodies all contain elements from the earth, elements that came from stardust when the earth was formed. All of us are here only because of processes that stretch back to unrecorded time. We all come from a long line of unknown ancestors who had the great good fortune to survive and to have children. Their DNA is part of us. Their hopes and dreams and spirits are part of us. We all experience love, fear, joy, sorrow, and wonder. We share these emotions. And we all share the elements that are needed for life: air, water, light from the sun, food from the earth, love, care, connection. We can feel this connectedness with every breath. Breathing in, we receive oxygen formed by the green living plants all around us. Breathing out, we release carbon dioxide, which becomes part of the plants, animals, and other humans. We all live within the web of life that supports us. We are not separate from that web. We and the web of life are one. Feel yourself as a part of the whole, of all that is. If any emotions arise, just notice them. And continue to let your body relax. Continue to feel your chair support you. Continue to breathe in silence together. And now, slowly return. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you're ready, open your eyes and return to this place and this moment. Namaste.
Thank you, Gloria, for creating that meditation for us today. Part of what we do in community is different kinds of spiritual practice, and just like going to the gym, if it's a new thing, it's gonna be kind of challenging. And If your mind wandered or you felt a little wiggly, that's fantastic. That is the practice. You noticed, you came back. When we're grounded in this way, this is where we can really tap into our wise mind and how we govern and live and move through the world with one another. Another one of our spiritual practices is sharing the joys and concerns on our hearts. And we do that each week, and we honor the cycle of life. When we share our sorrows, our burdens can be lightened. We're not in this alone. And when we share our joys together, our gladness may be multiplied, and we can vicariously get a little dopamine hit from other people having good things happen. So I invite you into this time of a different kind of community connection and sacred sharing in our lives. If you're on Zoom and you would like to share, type a message in the chat and tell us your name and let us know briefly what's on your heart today. And I'll read what you share out loud, and Gloria will add a stone on your behalf. If you're in the sanctuary, I invite you to come forward as you feel so moved. When you hold the microphone, hold it parallel to the floor so we can hear you. Add a stone to the waters, or you may add a stone in silence. Come forward and share. We come together with our personal joys and concerns and are also called to mind the joys and concerns of the broader world. And this week, we especially hold in our hearts all of those affected by the horrors of war in Gaza, brought into even sharper relief through protests sweeping our country's college campuses. And we hold in our hearts all of us Americans who are and may be losing faith in our Supreme Court and our government's ability to protect and serve its people. And for the many people of this country, especially people of color, who have never had faith in our country's institutions because they've never experienced the protection, care, and service that is everyone's right. And we add one last stone for these sorrows and joys, souls remembered and forgotten that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts.
And for this next hymn, we hope you'll join us, and feel free, just as you're holding all these things in your heart, to stay seated. The words might be projected behind me, but this is also in the teal hymnal. It's 1053, How Could Anyone? 1053 in the teal hymnal. If you need it, you may already know it.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that you're
the hour mark, so if you're feeling a little wiggly, you can have some wiggles right now. That's okay. For better or worse, you have been led by a preacher who had led 90-minute services, and you are at an hour, and I'm going to try to make you hit at 75. So stay with me. I'm working on it. And I promise I'm going to deliver you some good content, okay? They were excited to visit the DMV. I know. Not typical. They couldn't sleep, and they left home at 4:24 in the morning so they could be the first person inside when the door opened 3 hours later. They were about to become the first person in the country to receive the city's new gender-neutral driver's license, which designates genders by male, female, or X. And 3 hours later, they received their accurate ID. They said, "It's important to me because it means knowing that I'm valid and not erased." That's the story of Shige Sakurai, who doesn't identify with a specific gender. Sakurai uses the pronouns they and them. That was in 2017 when the District of Columbia became the first jurisdiction in the country to offer non-binary driver's licenses and ID cards. Now, 6 years later, nearly half of all US states allow people to have an accurate ID. And at the federal level, they still do not permit gender-neutral or non-binary markers on passports, Social Security records, and most other federal documents. In 2021, Sakurai told the American Civil Liberties Union, "I believe I have a legal and human right to access accurate ID documents." This is not merely a bureaucratic issue. This can be a life or death issue. Sakurai says they've experienced street harassment and physical assault because of being non-binary. They've said, "I've also seen editorials written to demean me," and horrifying comments on news articles saying that non-binary people should be sent to a guillotine or gas chamber. All of these acts of violence seek to erase me. I do not need the federal government erasing me too. Shige Sakurai is the Reverend Shige Sakurai, Director of Equity, Belonging, and Change at the UUA, our denominational headquarters. Our concept that there are only two genders is a matter of our culture and moment in history. It has not always been so. Cultures throughout time and around the world often have some form of a third gender, often who have special roles in society. Sometimes that third gender is a fixed identity, and sometimes it's a category of fluid identities. In Samoa, there's the Fa'afafine. In Muslim Indian society, there are the Hijiras. In the Ottoman Empire, there were the Cossack. In Oaxaca, Mexico, there are Mujes and Zapotec culture. In numerous American indigenous cultures, there are two-spirited people. In Thailand, the Cathaways. In Indonesia, the Warriors. In indigenous Hawaiian culture, a third gender is a Mahus. And increasingly in the US, genderqueer identities. And in Sulawesi, Indonesia, there are 5 genders. So I want to ask, what if we're the ones that aren't right? Sometimes our culture gets things wrong, really, really wrong. 1950s. Black girls couldn't go to integrated schools, let alone spaceships. Then along comes Mae Jemison, Southside Chicago. Our culture did not have a category for a black woman astronaut until Mae Jemison made one when she launched into space in 1992 as a mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour. As a little girl, Jemison watched the Apollo airings on TV, and she was upset there were no female astronauts. And she was inspired by African-American actress Nichelle Nichols on Star Trek. Jemison was determined to travel to space. And so culture was pretty wrong then, and that's real clear looking in retrospect. And it had to change, and it still has to. So you could spend a lifetime and more doctorates than you can count in gender studies. So I have a TLDR for our purposes. If you're not familiar with the internet jargon, it is too long, didn't read. 1, there are more than 2 genders. 2, you cannot tell a person's gender by looking at them. It is an internal understanding. Only a person can tell their own gender, and a person's gender may or may not correspond to the body they were born with. Now, the trouble is, in English, we use gendered pronouns to refer to people she, him, hers, his. And typically, the only time we used they was for third person plural when, and then singular when the gender of the subject is unknown. And more people are using they and them pronouns, and our language can change. The idea that there's only male or female, this or that, one or the other, isn't any truer inherently than the idea that a black woman couldn't be an astronaut. And I know my fellow grammar enthusiasts are out there. Yes, you can use they, them as a third person singular gender neutral pronoun, and we've actually been doing it all of the time. And if it sounds different to you, practice it. There was a time when the word Zoom was new to us too. And then it became like a word, a thing. Each year there's a new word. A linguist on NPR assured the listening audience that the third person singular use of they and them is okay because language changes all the time. So we have a PhD linguist's blessing on this. So why? Why does this matter? Why are we asking and inviting everyone to use their pronouns when we meet, to have that as part of how we operate as a congregation? Some people prefer they, them pronouns because they're not a single or specific gender. Think back a little while for those of you who may remember this, when Ms. was used for a person who thought that their marital status shouldn't be a relevant issue when they were introduced in a formal context. Remember the days when he was a universal language for all people, but it actually wasn't, and it isn't because you also couldn't get birth control on your own or wear pants to work. It wasn't all people. You couldn't have a credit card either. Gender identity is on the inside, so it doesn't always correlate to the body we're born into. And if we guess someone's pronouns, we are making an assumption on how they look to us. When we do this, we assume. Remember the old saw about assume, you make it. When we guess their pronoun, we're telling them, you've got to look a certain way for me to believe who you are. We're telling them, if you don't fit my idea of how a man should look, dress, and act, or how a woman should look, dress, or act, you are other. You're wrong somehow. So gender nonconforming get a lot of personal questions and scrutiny, sometimes at the risk of their safety. And sometimes we may be curious about all sorts of things. So here's another little piece of Terry guidance on the issue. If it is not a question you would ask grandma at Thanksgiving, it is not a question to ask someone who is gender nonconforming. Grandma, first pass the potatoes, and I want to know, are you really sure you're a woman? I mean, how do you really know? Don't you think it's a phase? And we don't need to know if she wears skirts more often than pants, wears her hair long or short, the gender of the people she's been attracted to and partnered with, nor the constellation of her genitals. We simply call her the name she likes. Grandma, Nana, Nona, Jane, Catherine, whatever she wants. It may sound really complex when we get into the theory of it, but it's not. We call a person by the name and pronoun they want. Now, I've heard it said, but I'm not comfortable using she for so-and-so. I'm going to let you in on a very big secret. This is not about you. It's about treating someone else with respect. It's the platinum rule rather than the golden rule. Treat someone not as you wish to be treated, but as they wish to be treated. So why should all of us share our preferred pronouns? I know that's a question that comes up, like, can't you tell by looking at me? Well, no, because we know gender can only be known on the inside. When we do that, we are signaling we are a safe space without forcing people to other themselves. When everyone wears pronoun name tags and introduces themselves with their pronouns, it reduces the scrutiny and danger for someone whose appearance may look different than we were socialized to expect. It signals you're a safe person to talk to. And we ensure everyone feels as respected and welcome as we can. And it's about our commitment, about living up to being a welcoming congregation. And not just meaning it, living it, keeping pace with it. Because culture doesn't stand still. Language always changes, and culture already moved on. Those stories were from 2017. 2 million American adults identify as non-binary, and 13.7 million kids identify as non-binary. And you get to decide if they feel welcome here. It means you get to choose which list you'll be on. Is it the list of bouncers, police officers, judges, and former presidents who don't have the backs of trans and non-binary people? Or the invisible list that does have the backs of trans and non-binary people? Culture changes, language changes, and thank goodness. We needed Mae Jemison on the Space Shuttle Endeavour, and moreover, she needed a world where she could live her potential. To be a church of today and a church for tomorrow, we need to grow and change too. And that's exactly what you've been doing. This is the work. You've started introducing yourselves with pronouns on your name tags, in your meetings, on your Zoom calls, one pronoun, one conversation at a time. It's not an end, but a beginning, a step, and we'll take one more step again and again. And about those driver's licenses with forced male and female genders, Sakurai said, "It didn't previously feel like I had a choice. It's been on my mind for 14 years that this can be possible." And it is. If of all things the government can be progressive, then as a liberal congregation committed to the inherent worth and dignity of all people, we can do even better. The grammar of inclusion is the language of all, and may we use it wisely and well, and with love, and even more love. Amen.
Now stay standing if you wish to sing our final hymn in the gray hymnal number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. I feel like there's so much love here that's lovely, and sometimes we need more. Hopefully there's more love other places as well. Thank you. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts till we meet again. And I invite you, if you feel so moved, to join hands. If you'd prefer no touch today, you can give yourself a big ol' hug. And let's go out with a good word from my colleague, the Reverend David Breeden. The road not taken is not a fork. That is too simple a thought, flipping some coin, either or, nope. It's not this or that, no or yes. It's nor, neither, and all of the time, and above and more. The road taken goes every way at once, there and there. They and them go, now, live. Maybe so.